Welcome to the REI Diamond Interview, your source for real estate investment jewels of wisdom with Dan Breslin.
Welcome to the REI Diamond Show. Today with Jack Barry on building and managing an effective and profitable real estate brokerage team. I'm Dan Breslin, host of the REI Diamond Show. Each week, I invite another high-caliber performer to share their unique experience as it relates to real estate investing. And although this one's not specific and we have a lot of non-real estate investing topics, we have an expert real estate investor who transitioned into real estate brokerage. And this week's guest is Jack Barry of the Jack Barry Group. And Jack has been in real estate for the past 12 years. He was born and raised in Philadelphia and grew up on tasty cakes and cheesesteaks, like myself. Jack began buying real estate in 2002 as an investor and became licensed in 2007 after discovering that he had more knowledge than the, quote, professionals, unquote, sitting at the closings. Since then, Jack has grown his real estate brokerage business to the point of a projected $25 million in transactions expected to close in 2016 alone. Jack has bought, sold, and renovated all over Philadelphia and is very involved in giving back to the community. Whether he is participating in the local civic associations, dog parks, or running along Kelly Drive, Jack knows Philly. Do you know Jack about real estate? Welcome to the show, Jack.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
Nice. Thanks for coming on the show. So, like I had told us right before we started the show here, we have an audience primarily of real estate investors. We have a lot of people who are highly successful who tune into the show every week. And we have a lot of people who would like to be highly successful. So, we do our best to share some critical turning points in people's careers. And we really like to get the background and the full story as we go through of how you started and how you got to this point where you're at today. So, Jack, why don't you give us the Reader's Digest version of what you did before real estate, kind of, how you got involved in buying real estate, and then maybe what led to the decision and the transition to getting into like the more retail brokerage. And then if you could just talk about how your business looks today and what the team looks like today. I know it's like a long question for a 5 or 10 minute piece.
All right, sure. I'm 53 years old. So from the time I was about 17 until I was about 40, I worked in the restaurant business, almost all in Philadelphia. And I started as a busboy down at Ribbit. This is, in the late 70s. And worked my way up to waiter, bartender, and then I bought a restaurant in Queen Village, a restaurant and then a bar. I loved being around people. And I know now, and everything most of my learning has been in retrospect. I go, oh my God, I learned this 15 years ago. What I found out is that I'm really good at very intense relationships that are very short-lived, much like a real estate transaction. I didn't know that. The same thing in the restaurant business, right? In the restaurant business, you have a table two comes in, they're there for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I worked at Morton's for 22 years, Morton's Steakhouse. Average customers in there for 90, for an hour and a half to 2 hours. It was a very intense relationship, and then they were gone. And it's just like real estate. I didn't know that until I got to real estate. So I'm in the restaurant business, and it's a crazy lifestyle, which is great for people that are crazy like me. So I did that for all that time, and I realized one day that I was getting too old for that. I was going to be dead soon if I continued living that way, partying every night and all that stuff. So a friend of mine was a lawyer, and he kept canceling lunch on me because he was so busy. And I said to him one day, you need to get somebody to work for you. You need to leverage this somehow. And he said, you used to run, you had a bar, you run these businesses, you learn how to open restaurants, Morton's, I traveled around opening restaurants for them. He said, why don't you come in and see if you can straighten my business out? So I came and worked for a law firm in about 2000. I worked there in the daytime, restaurants at night, and I really liked the estate side of the law practice, real estate and estates. So someone would die, their heirs would come to us. We'd set up the estate, raise the estate at City Hall, corral all the assets, which mostly was real estate. So I got a really intimate knowledge of real estate, like how it worked, like how someone would dispose of a property. And I liked it a lot. About 2 years later, 2 or 3 years later, I decide I'm going to buy a house. And I didn't have a whole lot of money at all. I actually had $700 in the bank.
Nice.
And I was listening at the time to Carlton Sheets. I don't know if you remember him.
Oh, yeah.
The guy, yeah, right, the guy. This was all on television, right? The internet wasn't what it is today, you know. I didn't have the Carlton Sheets package was $295. And I really didn't, I mean, it was almost half of my life savings at the time. So, but he had a 14-day money-back guarantee. So I ordered it. They came CDs. I listened to every CD, wrote down almost everything he said verbatim, and then sent them back. And I did that 2 or 3 more times with 2 or 3 other people that were on TV. And then I went and I sat myself at was it Borders at Broad and Chestnut? It was a 3-story bookstore. And I would sit up there. I couldn't afford the book, so I would literally sit there for 4 or 5 hours a day reading every single book on real estate that I could. And I realized that the Carlton Sheets way was the best. So he said you could buy multi-units with no money down. And I thought, well, we're going to see. I'm probably going to prove him wrong because I don't think he could do it in Philadelphia. And I think that's a big problem that a lot of people have is that won't work in my market. I hear that a lot. You know, that won't work in Philly, that won't work in Jersey, that won't work somewhere. But as it turns out, it probably will. And so a friend of mine said, why don't you try it? Instead of thinking about it won't work, why don't you try it? And if it doesn't work, then we'll come back and do something else. And I thought, wow, okay. Well, I didn't like him anymore. I didn't like that friend anymore for telling me that. But so I did it. So I found a property, and it took me forever. I drove around it like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I was even afraid to call the realtor. I thought, you know, I didn't know. I never dealt with a realtor, you know, except from in the legal process, in the legal world. So I called the realtor on the sign, and she said, no, it's been for sale for a year. The guy needs to sell, so make an offer, any offer. So I said, okay. I followed the Carlton Sheets thing. I made a full price offer with the seller paying all closing costs, everything. She said, do you have a mortgage? I said, no. She says, call a mortgage company. She gave me a mortgage company. I called. She said, whatever, she can get me qualified, but at 10.5% interest.
Wow.
Because my credit wasn't too great, and I had no money. So we do this. That took like another week. She called me back. She said, no. He said, no, he can't do that. He'll lose too much money doing it. I said, okay, well, I tried. What are you going to do? She called me back the next day and said, listen, he's got another property up the street, a triplex. It's in really bad shape, but it's occupied. So if you buy the triplex and the duplex at full price for both of them, he will pay all closing costs. And I said, I'll do it. So she wrote the contract up, and plus she's going to be the realtor on both sides. So that's why she's willing to work for me. You know, she's willing to work with me. So we write it up. I have $100 for each property. It's a good faith money. We had to write in the contract that he had to pay for the inspections too, because I didn't have any money.
Oh man!
So he fronted she got the inspector. You know, this was the value of working with a good, you know, with a smart realtor, because she had all these connections. So she got an inspector who was willing to get paid at the table, which is pretty unheard of in 2002 or 2003, whenever it was. So it all comes and it works. Okay, we're working. We get to the closing table. Oh my God, the seller can't come because he's dying now, and he has his stepson as his power of attorney. The stepson signs all the papers, and it turns out the guy got a check for $16 for both properties.
Oh my gosh! No money on the table.
Leaned. Right. Oh, it was just crazy. I got the keys, and I walked out of the land title building was at Broad and Chestnut, and I walked out of there with a handful of keys, right, for 5 units, and I thought, I'm going to get arrested. There's no way I just bought 2 houses for $200. And this was on the riverside of Port Richmond, you know, on Huntington Street. It was in a, you know, pretty stable neighborhood. I didn't do my due diligence, Dan. None of the people had leases. None of the tenants had leases, and none of them were paying rent. So I had to go through an eviction process, and it was crazy. It took months to get them out. One of them had to pay to leave, pay him $400. He just got out. And then I literally helped him move. I had to help him load stuff into a car. But I got them out, and I started doing reconstruction work. I went to 3 banks to get home equity lines. And they all said, no, I needed 6 months seasoning before I could get a home equity line. Well, nobody told me that. So now I got to make payments on these properties. I got no rent coming in, and I can't have no money to make repairs. I'm really desperate now because I'm thinking I'm going to have to go ask my family for money. And I didn't want to ask my family for one more thing. They had supported me my whole life, you know, and I was like, I don't want to do this. So I was walking from the PNC Bank at 15th or 16th in Walnut back to my car, which I parked on Spring Garden Street because I couldn't afford the parking lot. I mean, this is how broke I was. And there was a guy standing at 16th and JFK. Literally, he was working for Bank of America, which had just opened in Philadelphia. He was the branch manager. He was standing on the street handing out flyers for home brochures for home equity lines. He was like standing on the street giving out money, I tell people. And he gave it to me, and I looked at him, and I said, he goes, come on in. I said, no. I said, I can't. I said, I need a home equity line, but I just got turned down by my third bank. I'm not eligible. I don't own the property long enough. And he went, come in. Let me see if we can help you. He goes, what do you got to lose? So once again, that theory of, I didn't listen to Jack. Jack said, no, I'm not eligible because everybody told me I wasn't. And then I went, and this guy said, well, let's go see for sure. And that's a recurring concept in my life, Dan, that if I listen to me, I have to get me out of the way most of the time because I think, oh, that won't work. Well, why don't you try it, and then we'll see if it doesn't work. I live in this town called Jacksville, which is a one-man town. It's a very negative place. So I have to get out. I have to get out of my way, right? I think everybody lives in that town at some point in their life. So I went in the bank, and I filled out all the paperwork, and I left. That was on a Tuesday. Thursday, he's like, I get a phone call. I had just gotten what they call now burner phone, like a cheap cell phone, my first cell phone ever. And he said, Mr. Barry? I'm like, yes. And he said, this is so-and-so from Bank of America. I'm like, oh, yeah. He says, could you come into the bank? I said, for what? I'm like, you can just tell me over the phone, dude. He goes, well, we need you to sign the last paper. He said, we got approved. He said, and they were doing e-appraisals at the time. I don't know if you were around for this. That was crazy world. Yeah. So the property, he said, we only went on the one property. He goes, the one that I thought would appraise better. And it appraised for $120,000. They gave me 80%. So they were giving me, I think they gave me, somehow it worked out to $103,000 line of credit. And I was like, I remember I was at 50th and Woodland driving back into the city from somewhere, and I almost dropped the phone in the car. I was like, what? You approved me? Are you kidding me? What? This is insane. I went down, I signed it, he gave me the checks. He's like, here, we'll send your card in 2 weeks, and you can take money out of the machine or however you want to do it. And oh my God. So I started renovating one of the duplex, or the triplex. I started renovating that. The duplex, had structural damage. It was unbelievable. L&I came out. It was a mess. But I started renovating the triplex, and what happened was I over-renovated. I just kept finding more stuff wrong that had termite damage, and, it was a nightmare. So I ended up putting about $34,000 into the triplex, and I was going to sell it. And my contractor, I had a contractor working for me. He was a family friend. He made me come to work every day with him. He said, I want you to learn how to do this, not so that you will learn going forward, not so that you're going to do this. He says, but you'll at least know if somebody's trying to rip you off. Like he was showing me about electric and about plumbing, just very remedial stuff. He does all this. He calls me one day and he says, some girl came here again for the second time this week and she wants to rent one of these apartments. I'm like, no, I'm not renting. I'm going to flip them. He goes, yeah. He says, I don't know. You don't want to look at this rental thing. He says, there's this thing called Craigslist. You should look this up. I look at Craigslist. I'm like, oh. I put it on Craigslist. And my mortgage there was $570 a month on the whole triplex. And I ended up getting $775 rent for the 2-bedroom and then $495 for each 1-bedroom. And I went, wow, it really doesn't make sense to sell it. Because I had started out to be a flipper. I was going to flip properties. And I turned out I'm a very bad flipper because I never did. I just bought and hold. So I did that, and then I bought 3 other properties over in Kensington that were shells. Well, they weren't shells. They looked like shells, but they weren't that bad. None of them needed electric or plumbing. Roofs, windows, stuff like that. I was able to get one up and running for about $4,000. We had tenants in there, $800. Oh my God. I'm like, this is like I used to say shooting camels in a barrel. I mean, it was like, wow. And my eyes were open. It was hard work, and it was tenants and crazy, tenants and toilets and all that. But I learned by experience. I learned what not to do. I tell people that life, real estate, dating, it's a process of elimination. I have to go, no, maybe. No, maybe. And then go back to the maybes. And it was like that with the tenant selection, tenant process and vetting them. And over the years, I learned that. So when I started to buy the properties, though, I think I got to about 11, the 11th property, and I was sitting at the table, and I realized that the title agent and the two realtors at the table just really had no idea what the hell's going on.
I can relate to that.
Right? I mean,
I can relate to that.
I mean, they just didn't, there's a part of me, that there's and not all realtors. Most realtors do a great job, right? And now, I'm on GPAR, I'm on the board of the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors. I'm a lobbyist. I'm very involved in it. Most of them are good, but a lot of people get in this business for the wrong reason. They get in the business they become a real estate agent because they want to be their own boss and they want to work their own hours, which are two of the worst reasons to become a business owner, because you're going to work all hours. And being your own boss for you might mean that you don't have any accountability, and that's the absolute very most important thing that you need, in my estimation, to be an entrepreneur, to run your own business, is accountability and coaching. So I say, wow, I'm going to try this. I get my real estate license online. I get the license. My first 6 months, I did nothing at all because I didn't follow what somebody told me, and I happened to join, Keller Williams, and they have a model, and I didn't follow the model. Oh, I followed the model 5%. 95% it was Jack. I say I joined Jack Williams instead of Keller Williams. After a while, the guy who was mentoring me, Mickey Pasquarella, who's still my mentor, he's a phenomenal guy, and he said, you know what, you need to go, because I was still working in the restaurant business part-time, like 1 or 2 nights a week. He said, we went to lunch after 5 or 6 months of being in the business, and he said, yeah, this isn't working. You need to quit real estate and go back to, just go to the restaurant business full-time. It's not going to work out for you. I'm like, what? I'm like, first, I'm like, you're pretty mean. You're really mean to tell me that. But he said, yeah, he says, as long as you have that safety net of the restaurant business, you're never going to put 100% into this. And you know what? He was absolutely right then. Because I was like, lead generation, I don't need to do that. I was making $1,000 a week in a restaurant. What do I got to go do this for? And he was right. And you know what? That was Friday lunch at 1:30. At 5:30, I got a call from the restaurant that I worked at for 22 years. There was a new manager, and he and I didn't get along. He didn't like that I only worked 2 days a week, and I came and went as I pleased. I got fired. He fired me. Suspended me.
Congratulations.
Right? I didn't have to make a decision. God made it for me, or whoever's up there, right? I didn't have to make a decision. And I was, and I was going to sue, and I called my friend, the attorney who got me the job, got me exposed to real estate, and he goes, Jack, we could sue. He goes, and we could probably win. It's 2 years. He said, it's probably 2 years of negative in your life. That's what a lawsuit is. 2 years of negative. He goes, or you just want to get a settlement out of it. And so he got a settlement, which was not a lot of money, but it was just enough money to tide me over for the next 6 months, which is not how long it takes to get established in residential real estate, 6 to 8 months. And I put my nose to the ground and I started doing it, and I'm writing one of the books I'm writing 3 books, but one of them is How Not to Sell Real Estate, because I've made every single mistake, I'm pretty sure, as a licensed real estate agent. I've done almost everything wrong, or the opposite way of what people told me worked. Somebody would say, hey, if this really worked, you should do this. And I went, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it my way. Again, it comes down to getting out of my own way. I have to get myself out of my way every day, and I weigh 195 pounds. It takes a lot to move 195 pounds, physically, let alone mentally. So do that, and I follow the models of my brokerage, and I take huge amounts of education, which is the only reason I went there in the beginning, and went to 2 classes a day, followed people at open houses and followed them around, and and to this day, I still do script practice 3 days a week. I'm supposed to be doing it 5. I do it 3 days a week. I have a script partner, and holy moly, I did it, and I followed the recruiting process and hired the right assistant finally, which they told me the person that I hired, if I follow the process correctly, will be the last person I ever hire for that position. It took 70. I had to interview 72 people to get to him. Yeah, but my coach, and I'm a huge fan of Coach. Not a fan. I mean, I'm a proponent. Currently I have 3 coaches on my payroll. I have a coach for me, I have a coach for my assistant, and I have a technology coach, because I think I know everything. I think I'm smarter than everybody. And it's just simply I'm not. And I sit down with these, I'm on a call with these people, one once a month, one once a week, and the technology guy is every 2 weeks. I sit and listen to what they're telling me, and I do it. And they give me homework, and I go and I do it. And I think, wait a second, I'm going to, I just did whatever, $16 million in business in 2015. I know I'm king of the world. There's so much that I don't know. So I have to be open. I have to remain teachable. That I know. I must remain teachable. And the best way for me to do that is to teach other people. So that's why I teach at the Greater Philadelphia Association of Realtors. I teach the orientation class. So every new licensee in Philadelphia has to come through my orientation class. And I teach them the social media, social reputation. And I love that. I love that. And I get to learn. So that makes me, I have to stay on my toes, right? I have to keep my game polished because I have to teach these new kids, and they're kids, right? 20 years old. Somebody said something to me about Snapchat 6 months ago. I had no idea what they were talking about. Now I'm on Snapchat. So it keeps me in the loop, it keeps me right on the edge of the new technology that's happening. And, the technology comes out every single day, there's something new. And I have to be careful because I have shiny object syndrome. I like to chase after all the new shiny objects.
Let me ask you this, Jack. So you did $16 million. You're planning on doing $25 million. What percentages of that, and what do the clients look like? So you started off, you were buying, you were doing rental properties, and then you got into the real estate, and it started to click for you at some point, obviously, if you're putting up numbers like you're putting up today. So what type of business is that? Can you give us like an idea of maybe the retail price points and the kind of clients that you see, and maybe how you do some of that lead generation to get those clients in the door at this point? Because we get a lot of people on the audience who, just like yourself, they bought 8, 9 properties, they bought 3, 4, they watch a few commissions go across the table and they say, you know what, if I get my license, that 3, 4, 5, 7,000 is going to come back to me, and that's my closing cost right there. And then you look around, and even me, myself, from some of the aspect I do, I flip a house, and maybe there's $22,000 in profit I split with a partner, that's $11,000. If I were to get my license and sell a house that was $425,000, I'd be looking at the same amount of money as, flipping a house. So can you talk about a little bit like what clients, what price point, and what the team looks like that's closing that and making that happen today?
Yeah. My average sale was, what was my average sale? It was $317,000, which is pretty great considering the year before it was in the twos, like 253, I think. I have a very concerted effort to improve my price point every year. It was about 60% buyers, about 10 million in buyers and 6 million in sellers. And I am looking to flip those numbers this year to do 60% listing and only 40% buyer. Only because of time. It's about 47 hours to do a buyer transaction of my time, my business's time. And it's only about 21 hours on a listing. So I could do better than 2 listings in the same amount of time it takes me to do a buyer. It just makes more sense. So my buyers today are coming from right down the middle. 50% comes from my sphere. I have a very big reach. I've been in Philadelphia my whole life. I get involved. I'm involved in, civic associations and running clubs in Mana. We feed, sick people and St. John's Hospice and Broad Street Ministries and CrossFit. So I'm out there a lot. I'm not a big sit on the couch kind of guy, watch TV. That is not my idea of relaxing. My idea of relaxing is scouring through the civil docket at night of the first judicial district to look for foreclosure files. I call that real estate porn, like that is like that. I love that stuff, I'm like, oh my God, look at this, the local M&T Bank, they just dropped, 200 properties. They filed oh my God, we got to contact these people. We can help them. I have a nice little medical practice on the buyer side. I have 2 good connections at 2 local hospitals in the human resources department. I take them out to lunch every quarter so that when the doctor gets transferred and they, that's usually their first, after they get their job, they get sent to human resources. After they get their letter, you're getting a job. They go to human resources and they ask the human resource director for every single contact that they need. I need a realtor. I need a mortgage. I need everything. And so they're the people that I need to be very close with. They're my, what I call core advocates. So they'll be like, yep, you need to talk to Jack. So I have usually MDs and above. I have a great medical mortgage program also that is 100% financing, 100% financing. They can even finance closing costs. So, and these doctors come in, and they're looking at $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 condos. And then we do a big condo business with doctors buying for their kids going to school in Philadelphia. And we very target market them on Facebook. We do most of our advertising on Facebook. It's the only advertising I pay for is on Facebook.
Interesting.
And even that's not a lot. It's about All told, it's about $700 a month.
$700 a month, Facebook. What would be like the niche to target? Would you mind disclosing kind of how that Facebook advertising works? I know that that's going to be a burning question for a lot of people.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, I'm a firm believer. There are no secrets in real estate. There really aren't. There's none. You know, I have no problem telling anybody anything. The best one we just did, we had a property in Passion Square for sale, right? So I decide on Saturday mornings, there's going to be an open house on Sunday, the first open house of the property. I decide on Saturday morning, I'm going to do a Facebook ad, and it is going to target, I think, who is my client? Who's the prospective buyer for this property? What's that person look like? And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be what the current client, the current seller is. That's who's going to buy the property. It was a single woman bought this one. It's listed as a 2-bedroom, but it's essentially a 1-bedroom with a really nice closet. It had this attic space that she used for yoga, and then the biggest feature of the house was a 55-foot red brick patio out back. This is a row house in South Philly.
Wow.
But in Passion Square. So I decide that it's going to be just like my client. That's who's going to buy this house. So I target single female, 30 to 55, has a graduate degree, not a graduate, an undergraduate degree, a college degree, and makes over $55,000 a year. And I targeted the 7 zip codes surrounding that house. And I went to the open house. One of my buyer agents sat the open house, and I said, I'm coming because I need this experiment, and I needed to make sure that this was going to work the way that I wanted it to. And I needed to see how many people did we get. So that day, it was really bad weather. We had 18 visitors, which is okay, in my estimation, for an open house. 18 is, I like 30, but it was inclement weather. 18 visitors, and 12 of them specifically were from the Facebook ad because I asked at the open house, how did you find us? Was it our signs? Was it online? Was it Zillow? Was it Trulia? Because we advertise our open houses on all those platforms, and they all were like Facebook. All women, all Facebook. And so now I'm like, again, this is like real estate porn, right? You're like, yes. And by Monday, the next day, we had 3 offers, one of which got accepted.
That's mind-blowing, Jack. Was that Facebook driven?
That ad cost me $10.
That's nuts.
$5 a day. I never spend more than $5 a day for a Facebook ad. Never.
Huh. How much? $5 a day?
$5 a day, yep.
What do you bid on per click? I mean, how does that work?
No. I don't do per click. No. I send them to a landing page for the property.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing it for. To build website audience, I believe, is if you're on the Facebook. So in order to do this, you have to have a business page, right? You can't do Facebook advertising on a personal profile. You need a business page.
So you're building the audience of your Facebook page, correct? That's the lowest cost option?
That's not what I'm trying to do. It just so happens that's the category that you have to click on Facebook when you're in the ad, when you're managing the ad, when you're creating the ad. It says, what do you want to do? Are you looking for clicks on a website? Are you looking to build your audience on a landing page? I'm like, building audience on landing page. That's what I want to do because that landing page is going to be the flyer for the house.
Is the landing page a Facebook hosted page, or is that a separately hosted page with its own URL?
That's out of Blogger. That's
so
Blogger.
It's completely separate.
Right. Yep. We do a storyboard on Blogger, which has a YouTube video in it, which keeps me on Google, because Google owns Blogger and YouTube, and Google likes Google. So it will give me much more Google juice if I have those 3 components in there.
This is the kind of advertising strategy, Jack, that you just shared. I'm so grateful and I hope the audience realizes the amount of value that just was shared by you there with the results of that test to get a full open house there. People pay $100, $400, $500. People pay their coach $500, $1,000 a month for information like this, Jack.
Yeah, like I said, I really don't believe there are any secrets. It's just information that people share among each other. That's all. And so if you're an investor, right, and like if I was an investor and I just bought a house, I'm going to flip it in, like the other side of 52nd Street in West Philly, right? It's big hot place now, right? It's going crazy. So if I bought a $50,000 house today, I would target Facebook. I'd make a Facebook ad and I'd look for investors, real estate, university, West Philly, whatever it's called, whatever you want to call it, all the neighborhoods, and hit them for $5 a day.
What do you put in the creative for that? Do you remember like what terminology you use to get their attention, Jack? Would you mind sharing that with us?
Well, in that case, the case of Herb Street, it was just first open house tomorrow, Patchogue Square. That's it. Patchogue Square is the hottest neighborhood right now in Philadelphia. So you don't have to do much more there. I did great. I do really well selling investor properties, and this is what I write, and I wrote this as a realtor when after I got my license. I would have an investment property to sell. I would put this in Craigslist, which I think now Facebook is the new Craigslist, right? Although we still use Craigslist here and there. I would put on it, first time offered, in 5 days, I'm listing this with the stupid realtor. That's the words I would use. And that seemed to move people.
I'm listing this with a stupid realtor?
I list this with the stupid realtor on Friday. That's how I get investors to look at it. Because the investor's like, yeah. Let me look at it before you put it up with that goddamn realtor. Right?
Oh, that's pre-listing.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. People are like, oh, yeah, let's not get the realtor involved. That's more
interesting. With the deadline, I like that.
Yeah. Some kind of call to action, right? You got to push them a little bit,
Huh.
I'm listing this property. What's today? Tuesday? I'm going to put it up on Tuesday in Craigslist. I'm listing this to the realtor Friday. So you might be sitting at home going, I'll take a look at that next week when I get down there. But it's going to be on the MLS, and then you know what happens. It's all over then. So if you're an investor, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, my deal, on the retail side of my business, my goal is to sell my properties in one day. That's what I tell my listers. If you follow my rules, if you follow, not my rules, if you follow my, very strong suggestions, we're going to sell this house in one day with multiple offers above the list price.
Can you talk about that process, Jack? Because I have a feeling there's a few nuggets you're about to share with us right now.
Well, we do, we're taking a listing in Old City. We actually took the listing. It's signed. She's not ready to list until the beginning of March. Her job doesn't happen until April. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the property appraised. We're going to get the property inspected. You're going to you're going to address the inspection issues. You're either going to repair them or we're going to adjust the price for it. We're going to price the property 5% less than what I think is the market value, what I think it's going to sell for, because people looking for properties know what a property is worth, right? The buyers, the consumers today are very, very educated. They know price per square foot. And they go, wait, Old City, deeded parking, a 10 by 18 foot patio? Oh my, wait a second. 3 bedrooms, 3 full baths? Oh my God. Why is it under $700,000? Wait a second. Because we're going to get $710 for it. Because we're going to price it under. And all those people who are going to say, let's wait till Saturday and go look, are going to go, we better go look right now. Why is that? Wait a second. Why is that property priced like that? We need to go see something right now. We need to light that fire under people. We need to create urgency. And that's what we do if they follow my process, we do it. And then we do a storyboard, which is really the center of my listing process is a storyboard. It's a blogger page. We create a blogger page for the property. I make a walking tour video of it. I used to pay people $2, $3, whatever it costs to have a professional videographer come in, and they do great work. And I still have one for better. I still use one every once in a while, but we did the testing, A/B testing, and the people responded much better to me walking through with my camera phone. They like to see this walking video tour. They just love it. And they get to see dimensions, and they get to see colors and light, and not just the best, the videographer is going to show you the best of everything, right? He's really showing off his work, not the property. It's just what he's supposed to do. So we do that video. The video gets transcribed into the blog. We add a couple of photographs, and we don't always put a lot of photographs in the blog because we figured out, or someone told us that if you change 40% of the photographs, you get pushed back up to the top of the Google. You get pushed back up into the number 1 position on Google because it looks like new original content is being added to the blog.
Interesting.
So we put 10 nearby businesses in our blog. We mention them. We'll say, oh, you have to go to Joe's Coffee Shop. You have to go, and if you go to Joe's Coffee Shop, tell Joe that I said hi. And then you have to go to the 12th Street Gym and tell Rick, the owner, I said hi. And you have to go to hardware store and tell Bob, the hardware guy, that Jack said hi. And we highlight them. We backlink to their Facebook pages. They have to have Facebook pages for us to work. And then when the blog's done, we put the blog and we put it out on Facebook and YouTube and all that. But I go to Bob's Hardware Store page, and I go, hey, Bob, we just look at your shout-out for your store on our blog. So I get in front of somewhere between 75 and 100,000 people in 10 minutes to see my property on Facebook. And the people, and let me tell you what, the business owners, now I'm getting exposure with the business owners. They love it. They're like, oh my God, that's free advertising. Of course, they love it. They love it. Some of them, they ask me to come and help them with social media.
Yeah, I mean, that backlink strategy, what does that do? Because there's a reason why you had to put the Facebook page backlink, right? Could you elaborate on that for me, Jack?
I want them to be able to hit the link when they're on my blog. If they hit that link, they go to the Facebook page, say it's Bob's Hardware Store. If they hit the link and they go back to Bob's Hardware Store Facebook page, in very recent posts, they're going to see my blog on there, and that's just going to reinforce my brand to whoever's looking at it.
You share the blog post on their Facebook page.
And they love it. And then I'll go. You know, the coffee. What was it? The cake and the beanstalk was it's a coffee shop, and we did that with him. And he's like, he says, do you know anyone that could help me do what you're doing, what you just did? I'm like, yeah, I do. We go over there, we help him, we write a blog. He does shouts out. Oh, if you're looking for real estate, you got to use Jack Barry. That's invaluable.
Oh yeah, he's on fire.
That's invaluable. And you have other realtors that are still advertising in newspapers and magazines, right?
Yeah.
I have someone who's giving me a live testimonial in person to people. Nope, you got to use Jack. Because here's my only job at the end of the day. My job is to make everybody that I meet, when they think real estate, they must think Jack. That's my job. That's my only job. My job's not selling houses. It's not helping realtors. My job is to make everybody that I meet think real estate, think Jack. And that's what all my Facebook, somebody told me, if you're not making money on Facebook, they're making money on you. So everything that I write on Facebook is because I need people to think Jack.
Interesting. Now, Jack, did you take a course, a class? Was there some source of all this information, or did you just compile this through periodic pieces of knowledge you picked up over the last couple of years?
Yeah, it was just through really process elimination. I listen to blog posts. You know, I like to run in the morning, and so I will always have. So I will pick, like this podcast, what we're doing right now. I listen to these, at least one of these a day from somebody somewhere. Patrick Lilly up in Manhattan, John Poley, Gary Vaynerchuk. All these people are all they're all talking to people, and I pick up something. I'll be running. I'll be mid-stride. I'll be moving, doing my 9-minute mile, which is fast. I'm old and fat, so that's a fast mile for me. And I will stop and get on my phone and go wait a second. I have to write this down on my calendar. I'm going to do this, whatever this guy's saying. I'm doing this today. I'm going to try it anyway. But I know that 25% of what I try is not going to work. I know that. That's in everything. It's just not. If I expect to hit a home run every time, I'm going to be very disappointed, and I'm going to go home the first day. I have a 25% failure rate. I have to fail forward. I must fail forward. And then I go, well, at least I know that's not going to work.
Yeah, and that's a critical thing. I know that people in the beginning of their careers, early on, younger people are afraid to fail and afraid to try anything, but definitely having that thicker skin and just the knowledge that things aren't going to fall. I stopped noticing or tracking what percentage of things don't work. I just try so much stuff in my own business, and hey, when the stuff sticks, I continue doing that, and when I don't see it stick immediately, it's just gone. I'm not emotionally attached to those things anymore. Jack, I do want to switch gears a bit here, and I want you to talk about the structure of your team. What are the key roles, positions there that you have had placed? How did you fill those positions? Just give us a brief overview. So if we had somebody who was, say, let's semi or, moderately successful as a real estate agent, or maybe an investor just starting, what would be the vision, to get to a place where you're at today, where you've leveraged some of the people and created a lot of opportunities for the people around you, Jack?
Yes, that's the emphasis is on creating opportunities for them. My customers, me personally, my customers are the people who work for me. That's how I look at it. They are the most important people to me. It's not my consumers. It's not the buyers or the sellers. It's not. My job is to keep my people very, very happy and very, very motivated, because that stuff rolls downhill. And my clients feel when my assistant is not on the top of his game, or when my ISA is making calls, my internal sales agent is making calls. Sometimes I'll step into that room and I could hear, and I'll pull them out and I'll be like, yo, what's happening? What's going on? What's happening in your life? Because I can hear it in the calls you're making today. So we do what's called a cash talk. Once a week, we sit down, they answer 10 questions. I could email you a copy of that.
I'd appreciate
and
that.
And it's 10 questions that we sit down once a week, and they answer these 10 questions, and this is like open time. What's going on? Da-da-da. One time, had one of my people, I knew something was wrong. I said, what's going on? No, I can't. I don't know. I'm like, wait. Get out of the office. We go to lunch. I said, what is going on? I need you to tell me because I think negatively and I think you're leaving. You know, if you don't tell me what's going on, that's what I'm going to believe. So he tells me, and he's got some financial trouble and da-da-da-da. And I said, look, I need you here 100%. I need you here 110% when you're here. We'll go back to the office. I'm going to write you a check. I'll write you a check for half of it. You show me that you're going to you're going in the right direction with this. And, you're not going to dig back into the hole again. And over the next 3 months, we will pay off that debt totally. And now you go home, figure this out, and come back to work tomorrow 110%. I didn't do that for him. I did that for me, right? I need him to be happy. I need him to have a vision. I need him, part of the cash talk is, what are you going to do this year? One of my guys, he wants to buy a duplex. We're going to buy him a duplex. I'm not giving him any money for this, right? It's not like I'm writing him a check. We're going to show him how to do this, to buy his first property. He's 23 years old.
Nice.
We're going to show him how to do it. Because you know what? Then he's going to know the process, and he'll be much more able and qualified to talk to my clients when they're at that stage. He'll be able to walk them through the process also. Oh, well, no, we did this. I know how to do this now. Yeah, I can do this. I'll take over from here. That, to me, is true leverage. I have to get them to their goals. I have another. Go ahead.
Is he a buyer's agent that works for you, this 23-year-old?
No, he's my executive. He's my assistant. Executive assistant.
Okay, all right. He's the guy that answered on the second ring today, just so you know. When I called him. Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. And he has a sense of urgency that is way beyond mine. So I have to, we're big with personality profiles, very big. So we profile almost everyone. We can't do it to our clients, so we do it to everybody else so that we can read our clients quicker. So we happen to use the DISC profile, D-I-S-C. And once I find out who somebody is on that profile, once I can ascertain that, I can deal with them much more effectively.
Is there somewhere our listeners could go to get their hands on the DISC personality profile if they were interested in that? Yes,
actually, they could go, if they Google Tony Robbins, Tony Robbins, the life coach, Tony Robbins DISC, D-I-S-C, that you can actually take the DISC there. And here's the thing, you can take the DISC and you'll get the results back within 15 minutes. Okay, great. And there's no surprises there. No one has ever said, this is wrong, or I didn't know this about myself. They know it. Now they see it in print. But they need to sit down with someone who's done this before so that they can explain it to them. So they can go to there and email me the results, and I'll sit down with people because I love to do this because it makes me get better at it. I'll sit down with you for 40 minutes, and I will read through the DISC, and I will tell you why you do certain things. And I saw it I'm a high D and a high I, which means D is dominant driver. I'm the Julie McCoy. I'm the cruise director. I'm the one with my group of friends. I'm the guy always going, come on, we're all going skiing. We're all going sledding in a snowstorm. Come on, we're all going to the beach. We're going paddleboard for the day. I'm the guy that gets it all together. I make the arrangements. I make the reservations. I do that. That's the D, the driver. I'm high I, inner social. I'm talking to people all the time. I love it. My S, my security, my comfort is very low, so I am really, really bad at details. So I need to find people that work well. So Alex is a low D, a low I, a high S, and a high C.
Okay. Your
totally
assistant.
Compliments me. Yes, he totally compliments me. I am the bulldozer. I'm the snowplow. I will snowplow forever. I will go in a straight line forever. Alex picks up all the boulders and a broom and a sweeper, and he's makes it real nice. That's what he does. And once I got that, it took me 5 years to get to that point, to figure it out. And that's because of a system called Recruit Select. I do that. That costs $400 a class, and I do that. I still do that. I think I'm scheduled 5 times this year to do it.
At $400 a pop.
At $400, yeah. My budget is $8,000 this year for education for myself.
All right.
I have to do it. I have to find out. And so once I find those people that in my case, to build a team, first I needed to know who I needed and what I wanted to do. And I made a big mistake. I hired 5 assistants in 6 years, and they all had only one thing in common, which was me. So once I did the system correctly, I got the Recruit Select, and I was hiring for immediate cause as opposed to where I wanted to be. I was just so busy, and I was like, here, I need to hire somebody. I didn't even have the time to train them. So, of course, they were leaving. They didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted.
So, Jack, you have an assistant. What are the other roles on the team that kind of shape out the Jack Barry group?
Now we have an ISA, which is an internal sales agent, and he is calling my database 4 to 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. And depending on who it is he's calling and what he's looking for, maybe he might be looking for expires or FSBOs or whatever. His goal, now he's new. He's only been in this job for 5 months, September. His ultimate goal there is to make 10 appointments a week for me. He did 6 last week, and I believe he's already at 5 for this week. So he's getting there.
So you have basically 2. It's the 3 of you that would round out the effectiveness of the team, and you're stepping in at your most valuable point, which is face-to-face with clientele. Right, Jack?
All I want, listen, I pull up to the car. If it says meet Dan Breslin at, 121 Snyder Avenue at 4 o'clock today, at 3 o'clock I get what's called a dossier, gets emailed to me of who he is, all the anything that they found on social media on him.
Nice.
And then what the reason I'm there, what is it? Is it a FSBO? Is it an expired? Is it a developer, an investor? What is it? I'm prepared. If he's a hardcore left-wing Republican, I have to make sure that I'm not talking about, I have to, scrape off the, Obama sticker on my car. And I don't have one, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I got to be careful about what I'm saying. Yeah. Uh-huh. This is real. People go, oh, this is like, it's too creepy. It's too invasive. I'm like, okay, well, while you're saying that, I'll make an appointment. And I'm getting listed.
I found myself, and I'm not going to go on too long. I know you have a little bit of a deadline. You're getting ready to step into a meeting shortly here, Jack, and I will have you off. But I know that, the higher up in affluence that I've gone, meaning people who make higher incomes, people who are, more successful, more people who are more active, appreciate and even expect. I expect that my salesperson or somebody who's waiting on me might have done a little research on me and kind of know about me. I feel a little more special if they know who I am and they know my background. Oh, you're the guy with the podcast. I check that out. And it's such a rare and refreshing thing when that takes place, when somebody cared enough to put together the dossier like you've done for the client ahead of time, as opposed to the flip side that you'd mentioned, that objection where, it's invasive, et cetera.
In fact, we use something called Charlie app. So Charlie app, I have to give Charlie app all access to all my Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, all that stuff, right? But once I do that, it goes and combs all that stuff. So if I'm going to go meet Dan Breslin for the first time ever, it's going to give me, it'll say, here's his LinkedIn, here's his Facebook, here's his Instagram. Here's the company that he works for, and here's all the last 5 articles that we found on them. So if I'm going, the last week I was sitting with Urban Outfitters, and the person I was sitting with was pretty big, and we're trying to, do a big deal with them. And I'm like, oh, I just mentioned a conversation, in the beginning, 2 minute of hi, how you doing, all that stuff. And I said, I said, the storm's coming. I said, I can't wait. I said, my dog loves the snow. And the guy looked at me and went, oh, I got a dog. Because no matter how hard your personality is, if you have a dog, if Flight tells you how to figure out the disc profile, this guy just happens to do it with birds. You're an owl. Are you an owl, an eagle? I don't know. A dove, or I don't know what else. Something else. I'm an eagle, so the eagles eat all the other birds, and so I don't even know what that fourth bird is. I ate it already. Once I learn what I am and what the other person is, I can temporarily modify my behavior to make our relationship work. And that's an amazing thing. That is amazing.
So, Jack, do you have any final jewels of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners?
I must come from contribution in everything that I do.
So give first.
I have to. There came a time where we decided about, 2012, so 4 years ago, I said, you know what, we're not taking any more transactions under $100,000. They're too time consuming. Because, as most people know, a $100,000 deal is about the same amount of time as $1 million deal. It's just, sometimes the $100,000 deals get much messier. And I said, I had like 3 back-to-back bad experiences. I said, we're not doing this anymore. I just so happened to get a new coach about 3 months later, and he's like, what's that about? I said, well, I can't do it. It doesn't make any sense. He said, you are putting out to the universe that you're only going to help. You're not going to help people who need your help the most. It's never going to work, and I can't coach you. And I'm like, but the money. He goes, no. Because if you put money first, you will come in last, always.
Interesting. He
said, help everybody. Open your door. You can't be open for business just for rich people. It's not going to work. And my second biggest thing is, the Chinese proverb says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. because you need shade today. So the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best day was today. Go plant your tree.
Nice.
Go buy real estate. Go buy real estate today. So one of my new guys, the newest realtor in my office, texted me last night and said, when's the best time of the year to buy real estate? My client just asked me. My new client just asked me. I said, today. He doesn't know what I mean, the spring or the fall. I'm like, no, today. Said, interest rates are going up. The block's going to burn down. You don't know what the hell's going to happen. You're going to die. You're going to have a stroke. I don't know. You're going to lose your job. Buy the house today. Sell the house today. There's no seasonality to real estate. That's the biggest bunch of crap I ever heard. People say, I'm going to wait for the spring. I'm like, really? You know, there's going to be 1,700 properties for sale in your neighborhood in the spring. Do you want that kind of competition? I'm like, yeah. Do you want more competition or less competition? I'm not smart, but I know, in this case, less competition is better. And some people have never been honestly talked to. No one's ever told them the truth. And the truth is ugly sometimes. Most people think the truth is ugly. I just happen to think it's more efficient.
True enough. All right. Well, how can people get more information about you? Do you want to share some contact information or your website, Jack?
Sure. They can go to wherephillymoves.com is our main website. They can reach me at jack@jackbarrygroup.com, and they can call me. They can reach me through at my office at 267-238-5772.
5772. Well, cool, Jack. I know that I've gotten quite a few great ideas on the call. I thank you for coming out and being so open with your marketing strategies and secrets here. I got a lot of stuff that I'm planning on using.
It's great. Like I said, I just don't think there are any. There are no secrets. There are just no secrets here. They're really not. The more people we tell, the more people get professional, and we maybe clean up our industry a little bit and show the consumer that we're all working on the same goal, which is to get everybody into a house, get them on the wealth is created through the acquisition of property, real estate.
Thanks, Jack, for coming on the show.
Anytime, my friend.
And thank you, my loyal listener. Thank you for continuing to tune in to the REI Diamond Show. Do you know somebody else who might enjoy this episode? Send them a link. You can also sign up to receive new episode notifications at www.reidiamonds.com. As a bonus for signing up, I'll send you my special report titled 7 Sources of Off-Market Deals. There's also a public relations link on that page for those interested in applying to come on the show as an expert guest. That website again is www.reidiamonds.com. Thanks again for listening. Dan Breslin here, and I'll catch you next time. And remember, here at the REI Diamond Show, we're dedicated to increasing, multiplying, and protecting your net worth.
Thanks for listening to the REI Diamond Interview. To receive the REI Diamonds newsletter and interview monthly, sign up now at www.reidiamonds.com.